Welcome back to Hardball. Chances are you might not be familiar with Sinclair Broadcasting, the nation's largest owner of local TV stations. But a viral video produced by the website Deadspin shows anchors from Sinclair stations delivering the exact same script. And it sounds an awful lot like what President Trump has to say about fake news. Let's listen.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned about troubling and irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
Plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false news
has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Pretty sickening, isn't it? 15 Sinclair-owned stations are NBC affiliates. An additional 7 are Sinclair-operated but not owned by NBC. Well, it remains unclear how many of the Sinclair stations aired that message, but Sinclair's senior vice president of news defended the company in a statement saying, "We find it curious that we would be attacked for asking our news people to remind their audiences that unsubstantiated stories exist on social media." He added, "Our local stations keep our audience trust by staying focused on fact-based reporting and clearly identifying commentary." Well, let's bring in the Hardball Roundtable tonight. Jennifer Rubin, opinion writer with the Washington Post, Jason Johnson, politics editor for TheRoot.com, and Dana Milbank, political columnist for the Washington Post. Get in on this, but start with Jason. I think it's nothing like the power of the tube to show that chorus, that barbershop quartet of about 15 people singing from the same prayer book. Your thoughts?
Yeah, it's great. And actually, believe it or not, Michael Harriot at The Root, we wrote about this last September. It's not just forcing local anchors to recite these sort of Pravda-type stories. It's the fact that they've introduced Boris Epstein and Sebastian Gorka and all these different people who are being forced into local news to make commentary about national issues. This is a problem for democracy. People depend on local news to find out what's happening, school closings, what's happening with the mayor, what's happening with the governor, and turning it into a mouthpiece for the Trump administration with the help of Ajit Pai at the FCC, who's made it possible for Sinclair to buy more stations. That's been a huge problem, and Trump is perfectly happy with it.
Jennifer?
Well, I think his friends over at Fox and Friends maybe get a little jealous if he keeps talking about the folks at Sinclair. And certainly the people at Fox and Friends are some of those that carry that social media message that's not backed up by facts. But, you know, this really is kind of creepy stuff. You know, call it state TV, call it Trump TV. We're supposed to have independent journalists who actually think independently, speak independently. And there's certainly nothing wrong with reminding audiences that social media can be misleading. But listen, when they're carrying the president's lingo, when they're using his language, when they're parroting what he wants the mainstream viewership to see, that's not journalism. That's just parroting the president.
I'm thinking of, Dana, I'm thinking of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, when all of a sudden the guy next to you starts squeaking that sound. I mean, these are local people you come to like, and the boy next door, the girl next door. These are people, are very familiar people. You think they're speaking their own words, and you find out, no, the Invasion of the Body Snatchers has taken over here.
It definitely had that feeling that you were watching a hostage video, and if you played it slowly, you would see them blinking out SOS with their eyelids. Now, look, the owner of TV stations can have his people do whatever they want. The power of the press belongs to the person who owns the press. But what you have here is particularly sinister, I think, because the message is basically saying, don't believe us. Don't believe the press. The press is infected with bad news, and that includes us, and we're sorry for it. That was part of the message there. So basically, they're echoing the White House line, don't believe what you're seeing on this newscast. Don't believe the media, and there's no truth out there.
Right.
Well, Jason, Jennifer. I'll start with Jennifer on this because you write for that paper that I've read since, 50 years now, the Post. I think they're talking about the big newspapers, the Post, the Times, the Journal, even on the news pages, and USA Today. And they're talking about those papers in a disparaging way. as you have less readership of newspapers, I think it's easier to attack them. I think people really believe what they read. Why would you read the New York Times? It's a big chunk of reading to do, or the Journal, or the Post, because you do learn from it. So why they're going after people that don't read the damn papers, I think. That's what they're up to here.
I think that's right. Listen, our subscriptions are doing great. Thank you, readers of the Washington Post. Readership is up. But you're right. This is part of the entire effort. And Fox does this all the time, even though they claim to be a real news network, disparaging any independent sources of information. That's right from the autocrat's playbook. That's what Trump does, whether it's scientists at EPA or the mainstream media. He really wants the truth to be whatever he says the truth is. And when you make muddled messages like the nonsense that came out of his mouth on Sunday, you can understand why you don't want independent fact checkers. But at least for Sinclair viewers, it really is a disservice to them. And you do wonder how long those local news readers are going to put up with it, and whether some of them are going to leave for greener pastures.
Well, I knew a lot of people quit when they saw Sinclair coming. Anyway, the roundtable's sticking with us, and up next, these three will tell me something I don't know.